UFC days, MOINES. I don't know how to pronounce that, but Cory Sandhagen versus Davison Figueiredo takes place this weekend. I'll be giving my full card predictions from the bottom to the top. The early prelims here and the prelims in general are pretty dog shit, but the main card is actually pretty solid for a fight night. Either way, though, we will be reviewing every single fight. Starting off with Juliana Killer Miller taking on Ivana Petrovic. Juliana Miller is the younger girl in this fight. She's 28. However, she's just 4-3 overall. She's 1-2 in the UFC. She's very inexperienced, as her record shows. She won her debut by round three TKO over Brogdon Walker. The wrestling was solid and her hands looked good. But since then has dropped her last two fights to Veronica Hardy by decision, and she was KO'd in her last fight in the first round by Luana Santos. And if there's one thing to be taken away from that fight versus Santos, it's just the fact that she looked so awful. Juliana looked so bad. Her typical style of fight is just a dog fight, very sluggy and weird. She has a lot of holes, and I just think that the only way for her to really win this fight is for her to keep it standing and to keep it ugly. Ivana Petrovic, on the other hand, has a little bit more experience. She's 7-2 overall, the same record as Juliana, however, in the UFC, being 1-2 herself. She lost her UFC debut to Luana Carolina by decision, who's now actually on like a 3 or 4 fight win streak herself. She finished Na Liang in the third round with an arm triangle, but I mean, everyone finishes Na Liang if it goes outside the first round. And she lost her last fight to Jamie Lynn Horth by split decision in a fight that I thought she won. Luan is a wrestler slash BJJ merchant pretty much. She looks for the takedown and lands them at good rates compared to Juliana's 0% takedown defense. She's never been able to stuff a takedown in the UFC. And her last three wins, her obviously win in the UFC and before then, her last three wins come by submission. I think that we can see her finding a submission, however, in the later rounds in this fight or taking home a boring, dominant decision. I just don't really see the path to victory for Juliana as clear as Ivana Petrovic. And I'm actually just with how women's MMA has been, like last week, both the women's fights got finishes. I'm gonna take Ivana Petrovic to win by round two or three submission. I think that she might be able to find something because she looks for the back right away and yeah, definitely Petrovic as a winner. But I'm gonna take her by submission. We move on to the heavyweights, unranked heavyweights, maybe even ranked at this point. You never know with how those rankings are going to be looking. Thomas Peterson takes on Don'Tale Mayes. Thomas Peterson, 9-3 overall. He's 1-2 in the UFC, and he's 6'1" compared to Don'Tale's 6'6". Pretty fucked. Peterson again, 1-2 in the UFC. He lost his UFC debut to Jamal Pogues in a like people are probably gonna hate on that fight. I actually kind of enjoyed watching it. It was just a lot of jabs and 1-2s, but them boys were just kind of doing that the whole fight, right in the pocket. It's pretty entertaining to watch. Then he goes out there and beats Muhammad Usman, the brother of Kamaru Usman, where his jab looked good. He mixed in the takedowns a few times, and yeah, it was a good performance. His most recent fight, however, he lost to the Blob Shamil Gaziev Vogue magazine model by round one KO, where Thomas actually had more significant strikes in that fight. He had an easy takedown that he landed, and Shamil just clipped him with a fucking nuke. So it was just a one and done, and that was it. But Thomas Peterson actually has some sneaky boxing. For a big guy, he looks like he could fucking move down to middleweight, but I think he's just probably got a little bit of lazy big bones or whatever. But um, he's actually pretty quick. He's got some decent head movement and does have some decent boxing with a takedown, a couple submissions, and on his resume, he obviously won his Dana White Contender Series by a key lock submission, which is pretty impressive. So if I can see him just if he mixes in the tools really well, doesn't just keep this only standing with Don'Tale Mayes, I can see him winning this fight, most likely by decision. But to talk about Don'Tale Mayes for a bit, the training partner of John Jones, I mean, every single partner that trains with John Jones is just fucking terrible. Um, I have written down Mayes is just awful. He's slow. He tries kicks that at his 265, 6'6" frame, he cannot handle. Um, his best part of his game, I guess, is his boxing. He has decent pressure, decent leg kicks. He lost his last fight, however, to Walter Walker by heel hook. It's the second heel hook submission loss on his in the UFC actually. Um, I don't think his 57% takedown defense will hold up, and I think it'll cost him this fight. And probably just get a cut from the UFC. He'll be 11-9 at that point. So yeah, Thomas Peterson by decision is the pick. We move on to Gaston the Dream Killer Bolaños taking on Kwang Lee. Gaston Bolaños, 32 years old, 5'7", 69-inch reach. He's 8-4 overall and 2-1 in the UFC. Gaston is a great kickboxer. He has a lot of Muay Thai fights, and he actually has a special move of a spinning back elbow. He has multiple KOs across multiple promotions. Yeah, he's a traditional kickboxer. He doesn't really shoot for takedowns, but in his last fight versus Cortavius Romius, he actually mixed in the wrestling a little bit. He had two. He won that fight by unanimous decision. Had his opponent hurt. His opponent hurt a few times. Before then, he was spinning wheel kicked by Marcus McGee and KO'd. But obviously had a good rally back win. He does have some holes in the ground that could be a downfall here. But again, Kwang Lee is not someone that is some monster on the ground, some fight IQ wizard that's going to know exactly what to do when he gets there. Kwang Lee, on the other hand, he's 33, he's 5'6", 70-inch reach, 8-2 overall, and 0-2 in the UFC. Kwang Lee's a brawler. He has some solid leg kicks, and he will resort to takedowns as like a plan C. He lost his last fight to Zhao Long by round 3 KO, and it was actually a pretty bad KO. The cardio was not looking there, and he got hit with a bit, I think it was like an overhand right or a little right hook, and it K'd him pretty freaking good. So before then, he lost a decision to Chris Gutierrez in his decision. Obviously, a really good step up in competition from what he was fighting before. But I just think Gaston's going to be able to stuff most of the takedowns, pick him apart from the outside and the inside, and probably find a kill shot in the second or third round. But overall, I am going to take Gaston Bolaños to win this one by decision. I think that Kwang will probably get a couple takedowns in the third round or something and not get finished. So Gaston Bolaños by decision is the pick. We move up to women's MMA again. Marina Rodriguez taking on Jillian Robertson. Marina Rodriguez is 38 years old, however, coming into this one. 5'6", taller for the division with a 65-inch reach. She's been here for a while. She's 17-5, 7-5, and 2 draws in the UFC. Marina has slick boxing. She's got really nice combos, however, getting up in age, obviously. She's now 1-4 in her last 5 fights, dropping back-to-back split decisions to Yasmin Lucindu and Jessica Andrade. What's hard to pick with Marina is she's giving up. Why it's hard to pick Marina, sorry, is she's giving up takedowns, and someone like Robertson will look for the takedown and try to submit you. Obviously, she has, I think, like 9 submissions in the UFC. I think she will be able to keep this fight, however, at the range, Marina Rodriguez. Jillian Robertson is someone that has like a 30, I have it written down here. She has a 39% takedown accuracy, and it's just like Marina Rodriguez has been there, done that with the top of the division, and I think that her takedown defense can hold up in this fight. I'm not saying it just will. I'm guaranteed will. But sometimes when you watch a Jillian Robertson fight, it's like she just doesn't look very good until it hits the mat. Obviously, but like it's just the way that she gets these takedowns, her striking, the way that she like leaves her chin out there. It's just, I don't know. It's something that I can see Marina Rodriguez really capitalizing on, and like even finding the button and dropping Jillian maybe once throughout this fight. But Jillian, again, like she went in 2022, sorry, she lost to JJ Aldrich, where she went 1 for 6 on takedowns. And with that one takedown, it got reversed, and JJ Aldrich had 4 minutes of control time, winning the fight as an underdog. It's just like when that's happening 3 years ago, it's just like, is Marina Rodriguez really with the JJ Aldrich level of like if you see what comparison I'm making, like I just think the Marina's much better than that, and like not to compare fighters with other fighters because I know styles make fights, but I think that this could be a trip down memory lane, and Marina Rodriguez picks up a decision win. So I'm going to side with the heavy underdog to win this one by decision. We move up. Ultimate Fighter winner D1 wrestler Ryan Loder takes on Azamat Bokoyev. Ryan Loder, 33, 6'2", with the 76-inch reach. This is actually his UFC debut after beating Robert Valentin in just a murder domination fight in the Ultimate Fighter finale. He just controlled him bad and took him down round two and just started slamming him with elbows, ultimately leading to the TKO win. Very good wrestler. He gets in a weird spot. He gets you in a weird spot, backing you up against the fence. He'll shoot for takedowns. His striking, however, he has very low output. He makes guys force the shots, however, so he can shoot. He wrestles. He wrestles. He's a D1 guy, like I said, and his control of smothering is how I have written down. Azamat Bokoyev, however, he's a younger guy, being 29. He's 6 foot, 72-inch reach, 19-3, and 1-0 in the UFC. Excuse me. He finished Zach Reese in his last fight by TKO, where Reese's glass chin, it's just gone now. I actually think that Zach Reese is a really solid fighter. It's just, who do you get KO'd by? It was Cody Brundage with that slam, and then now Azamat with a couple of ground and pounds, literally put him out cold. Um, he has big slam takedowns and is very well rounded. The power in his hands being his best weapon. He will be the better striker, but I don't know if he'll be able to use that if this fight is just spam constant takedowns from Ryan Loder and being controlled. Bakoyev obviously has much more MMA experience. This is going to be a really interesting fight because both guys have really good takedowns. Bakoyev obviously has the striking advantage by a significant amount and the experience. It's just that level of wrestling from Ryan Loder is really going to be coming into the back pocket. And I think it'll be coming into which guy is going to push the pace early, land those early takedowns, and kind of break the will of the other guy first. And I think that it's going to be Ryan Loder. I think that Azamat Bokoyev is going to be loading up on big shots, trying to put out Ryan Loder. And just it's going to force a big opening for Ryan Loder to shoot for a takedown, and he'll get it, control him, and I think that he'll ultimately end up finishing Azamat Bokoyev in the second or third round. So give me Ryan Loder to win by finish. Big underdog there again. I'm riding with the dogs this card, it seems like. We move on again to women's MMA. This fight's fucking shit. Just not great. Yana Santos taking on Miesha Tate. Yana Santos, 35 years old, 15-8 overall. She's 5-5 in the UFC. She just snapped her 3-fight losing streak with a decision win over Chelsea Chandler, where she looked good. But again, we just saw Chelsea Chandler this most recent Saturday get KO'd in the first round by Jocelyn fucking Edwards. She was controlled by Holly Holm in 2023, Yana Santos, who had 4 takedowns, Holly Holm. She has a 40% takedown defense in her own right, and the only thing that's solid about her is her kicks and striking. However, she couldn't hurt a fly. Again, we're getting taken down 4 times by Holly Holm, controlled by her when she was 40 years old. It's just like not a good look, and you're coming off a Chelsea Chandler win, like fuck. Miesha Tate, 38 years old, 20-9, former champion, 7-6 in the UFC. Like I said, former champ. She won her last fight by round 3 submission in a smuggling win over Julia Avila, who's just fucking awful. Excuse me. She dominated her start to finish. Before then, she dropped 2 fights to Lauren Murphy and Ketlin Vieira. Miesha has a 31% takedown accuracy. That's what, like, kind of the argument here is. Do you think that Miesha's going to be able to get the takedown? If she doesn't, she'll probably get out volume to a decision lost by Yana. But I think she gets the takedown throughout this fight. I do. She's got that gritty vet experience. She's faced a way better competition. It's been slightly over a year since we've seen her, but whatever. I mean, it's WMMA. And I have a slight favorite that Tate's just going to get it done on the cards. If this fight goes to the ground and she mixes in that wrestling, the striking isn't going to be out of this world levels different. Especially, like, you just never know how these girls are going to show up. So I'm going to take Miesha Tate, the slight favorite, to win this one by decision. And yeah, we move on. So that's it for the prelims, but here we go with the main card. It's actually good in my opinion. Starting off with 2 guys making a return, we have Jeremy Stevens taking on Mason Jones. Jeremy Stevens, who the fuck is that guy? 38 years old. He's 5'9", 71-inch reach, 29 and 21, 15, 18, and one no contest in the UFC. The record is deceiving, but we all know Jeremy. This guy KOs people while you TKO people. He's knocked out Josh Emmett cold. He has some of the most fucked up follow-up shots ever. Some of the rudest elbows. He's got a flying knee KO in there. He looks to throw the kitchen sink at you every time. He's been bouncing from promotion to promotion since being cut. But he's found his groove really well at BKFC, where he's now 3-0. As of late, he's re-signed, but he'll be fighting in his own backyard. He's from New Jersey. I think this is, however, just a one-fight deal. Mason Jones, however, he's 8 years younger, being 30 years old. He's slightly taller at 5'10", has a reach advantage at 74. He's 15-2 overall and 1-2, however, sorry, in the UFC, and I believe with a draw. One draw in there, I might be wrong. Very talented guy. He's got 10 finishes. He's 12-0 in Cage Warriors. His one win in the UFC is over David Onama, and his losses are to Ludovic Klein and Mike Davis in his UFC debut. He's since went back to Cage Warriors, where he's been now 4-0 with 3 finishes. The guy's legit. He's very well rounded. He's got great wrestling, rude ground and pound. He averages 3.2 takedowns in the UFC per 15. He's got an 80% takedown defense. When he gets taken down, he's very good at getting back up to his feet. And I just think that Jones picks him apart, gets lots of takedowns throughout this fight, and wins this by round 3 ground and pounds. I'm going to be taking Mason Jones to win by TKO. I just think that Jeremy Stevens, what has he got? He throws the kitchen sink at you and hopes to land a bomb. And more times than not, that just doesn't really happen. We saw it recently with Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. No, I'm not calling Mason Jones fucking Lerone Murphy, but it's like the chances of that fucking powerhouse dog that's just gonna turn around the years and win the fight by KO. It's hard to see, and I'm just not gonna pick it. I mean, Mason Jones is a huge favorite. I don't agree with the odds, however. I mean, I understand why you'd slam the Jeremy Stevens by fucking KO at a plus 1,000, but I am gonna run with the younger guy, the younger guy, and the Welshman Mason Jones to win this one by round 3 TKO. We move up to Cameron Smotherman taking on Sari City. Smotherman, 27 years old. He's 10-4 and 1-0 in the UFC. He's coming off that win on short notice over Jake Hadley, where he was a huge underdog and had an amazing fight in his debut. Smotherman has solid striking, keeps his good range control. He does keep them fingers out too much. It did lead to a point deduction throughout the Hadley fight. He lands no takedowns and has a 50% takedown defense. Strike for strike, this is a very close fight. Both guys don't really shoot for takedowns. Both guys have gritty boxing. However, I would say that Sari City has like kind of the dirtier style, if you may. Sari City is 28 year older. However, he's 5'11". He's pretty tall for the division. 11-2 overall and 1-1 in the UFC. He's coming off a bullshit split decision win over Garrett Armfield, where he was outstruck and was taken down 4 times while having 0 takedowns himself. His other loss is a close fight to Ramon Tavares. He lost by split decision, but also has a early stoppage KO over Ramon Tavares on the Dana White Contender Series. He's got great 1-2s. He's got really good heart, and he's very tall for the division, like I said. I am going to go with Smotherman, however, the underdog, to get it done. I think that he is going to mix in takedowns throughout this fight and just overall outland Sari City and win a decision. His cardio looked good in his last fight. He stepped in against Jake Hadley, who, I mean, we just saw him get a twister submission in the first round of the PFL. I have always thought that Jake Hadley was pretty good. He beat Calvin Loughran. Again, he lost to Energy, but it's just like enough with Jake Hadley. I mean, that guy's pretty good. And to step in there on short notice, really short notice, and take him and just beat him up over 3 rounds, it's pretty impressive to me. So I am going to go with Cameron Smotherman to maintain a perfect record in the UFC and move up to 2-0 to win by decision. We move up to probably one of my most intriguing fights on the card. Montel Jackson takes on Daniel Marcos. Um, Montel's 33. He's 5'10", 11-2 overall, and 8-2 in the UFC. He's got a great record, coming off a 18-second KO over Damon Blackshear. That's just so impressive to me because Blackshear has looked amazing in his last fight. He looked great on the feet over Ali Tong Lee. However, his other wins are just very spread out and not the best comp. He doesn't fight very much. His losses obviously are to decent people in Brett Johns and Ricky Simon, where he was just taken down throughout those fights. Montel has good striking defense. He's got great takedowns. He lands them at 3.5 per 15 and at a 71% clip. So he's very accurate at landing takedowns, and he does them a lot. However, most of this comes from one fight. There was one fight where he had like 14. He has 0 takedowns in his last 3 fights, but that could change this fight. I think that both guys don't land takedowns at a very high rate, but I think that whoever is going to mix in the takedowns throughout this fight will win. Montel is long and can pop the jab and threatens takedowns is a path to victory for him. Daniel Marcos is 3 inches shorter than Montel Jackson and got a 6-inch reach disadvantage. However, he's 17-0 and he's 4-0 in the UFC with 1 no contest, coming off a split decision win over Adrian Yanez, where he outstruck him and had 2 takedowns in himself. Before then, he dropped Castaneda and won a good decision, and had obviously that very suspect win over Davey Grant. Marcos does very clean boxing. He's very active. He doesn't shoot for takedowns very much, but he is capable of getting them and is a smart thing to do and is smart when doing them. What I mean by that is in his last fight against Yanez, it's a close boxing fight. No one's really shot for a takedown or mixing the grappling. What do the judges want to see? Something different maybe. And Marcos is going to do that. He's gonna give you different looks of his fight, and he's good at point fighting, man. He's very good at point fighting. He's only been taken down 1 time in the UFC, and as an underdog, it's hard to pick against him. I think the inactivity could be bad for Montel, and I just think that Marcos is going to outpoint him and keep that undefeated record. So yeah, give me Daniel Marcos to win this one by decision. We move up to the not crafty, just old vets at this point, scrappy if you may. Santiago Ponzinibbio, the Argentine dagger, takes on Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. Both guys are 38 years old. Santiago's 6 foot, 73-inch reach. He's 30-8 overall and 12-7 in the UFC. Ponzinibbio beat Carlston Harris in his last fight by round 3 KO, where both guys dropped each other, and Carlston was up on the scorecards, which was just shocking to me. That fight was really poor in my opinion for Ponzinibbio. Before then he was 1-5, and at his age he's taken a lot of damage now. He doesn't get takedowns. He does the same combos over and over, and he's looked bad in my opinion in his last 2 fights. He's a tricky outing, but so is Daniel Rodriguez. I mean, both guys are vets, like I said. Daniel also 38. He's a bit taller at 6'1", 74-inch reach, 19-5 overall, and 8-4 in the UFC. Rodriguez is a boxer through and through. He's beat Moreno in his Alex Morono, in his last fight by split decision. After losing that first round, he picked him apart. He got the striking pattern down that Morono was throwing at him and destroyed him in rounds 2 and 3 with great counters. He also had a takedown in there. One thing I want to say is that you might think like, oh, it's Alex Morono, the guy sucks. But it was the ability that Daniel Rodriguez had to make those fight adjustments, pick up on the combos that Morono was constantly throwing, which Santiago will be doing, and to make counters and make reads and do different things. That's what I think is going to come into play huge in this fight. Before then, however, Rodriguez, he dropped 3 straight fights, his most notable being the Ian Gary head kick, who now he trains with. And also before the Morono fight, so 2 fights ago, he fought Kelvin Gastelum, and that fight was it was a war. Rodriguez had 127 significant strikes. He had a takedown or 2. And that was up a weight class at 185 because Gastelum missed weight by fucking 12 pounds. So he had to put on that weight. He had a bunch of bullshit, and D-Rod looked great. So if you see the 1 and 3 in his last 4, I mean, it's against good guys and a little bit of bad luck there. Both guys 38. Both guys don't really grapple. Both guys like to scrap. I'm going to lean with the man training with Ian, who's looked better. In my eyes, I'm going to take D-Rod to win this fight by TKO. I think the Ponzinibbio gasses out a little bit. D-Rod with the volume and puts him out probably early round 3. We move on. Bo Nickel taking on Rainier the Ritter. 29 years old compared to 34 for Bo Nickel, the younger guy. He's 6'1", 7-0 overall as a pro, 4-0 in the UFC. Amazing wrestler. He was D1 at Penn State with all the accolades in the world. I'm not going to go over them because I'm sure you're going to fucking hear them this weekend. Like I said, though, however, he's 4-0 now in the UFC, coming off a decision win over Paul Craig where he spammed overhands the whole fight. But again, do you really want to risk taking down Paul Craig and being in the Paul Craig Hall of Fame of just getting fucking submitted by that guy like Jamal Hill and Uncle Live? No. You know, strike him. Bo's an explosive finisher. In his first 3 fights, he showed KO power and fast in and out movement versus Val Woodburn. And that he can do it in a longer, not just in the first round and first minute like everyone else that he's fought. Versus Brundage, he dragged it out into the second round. Nickel on the feet isn't special. He has an overhand he spams. He thinks that he can head kick, however, usually ends up on his ass. But he is a phenomenal wrestler. Very good, very composed, and a lot of he's going to be a one to watch for a while. Rainier DeRitter, he's 34, 6'4", big guy, 19-2 overall and 2-0 in the UFC. He's got back-to-back finishes over Gerald Meerschaert in the third round and a round 1 submission over Kevin Holland. Holland at 185, I mean, the guy just doesn't fucking try. GM3 was a very weird fight. GM3 was not outlanding, but he was landing a lot on the feet. And versus Holland, he just kind of gave up in a couple minutes. Rainier is a double champ in 1. He lost both of his belts to the same guy, Anatoly Malikin. His last fight in 1, he genuinely quit. He was spamming takedowns. He didn't get them. Anatoly's a monster. It was out striking him. And after one failed takedown, one last takedown in the third round, I believe it was, he didn't get back up. He just didn't stand back up and lost by quit. It just wasn't a good look. What do I have here? I just think that if Bo keeps up with that fight IQ, I think that he's going to keep this fight standing. He's going to stuff them takedowns. He's going to work on his striking, and it'd just be really smart to not grapple too much or risk being in bad positions because Rainier DeRitter is very crafty on the ground. He's very good on the ground, and I'm not saying like he's better than Bo Nickel. They have different styles of like when the fight goes to the ground. It's more wrestling and jiu-jitsu. But if Rainier's on top, that arm triangle, that whatever he goes for is so alive. However, I just think that Bo's going to be smart. He's going to stuff the takedowns, and I'm actually going to take Bo Nickel to win this fight by KO. It's really risky, but Rainier DeRitter's striking defense is fucking terrible. The guy sucks on the feet, and I actually can see Bo Nickel landing one of those overhand rights and actually crunking the fuck out of Rainier DeRitter. So that's what I'm going to take. Give me Bo Nickel to win this one by round 2 flatline KO. Yeah. And we move on to the bantamweight main event. Cory the Sandman Sandhagen taking on Deiveson Figueiredo. So my opinion has changed on this fight. I originally was all for Figueiredo because these odds are just like, what the fuck? They're unbelievable. Like, why is Figi a plus 450 underdog or whatever it is? However, let's take a little deeper dive. Sandhagen 33 compared to Figi's 37. Sandhagen 5'11" compared to Figi's 5'5". Sandhagen 70-inch reach compared to Figi's 68-inch reach. 17-5 for Cory, 10-4 in the UFC. He lost his last fight to Umar Nurmagomedov in Abu Dhabi by decision, where he was only taken down 5 times. He stuffed 8 takedowns and had some moments. He's still around. Cory's an amazing striker who has every strike from elbows to wheel kicks to flying knees, whatever it is. He has great wins in the UFC and has fought the who's who's. Cory will be a much taller guy. He'll look to keep Fig at range, mix in the cage control, maybe throw a couple of these crazy knees. However, he does have a 65 takedown defense that could be a huge target for Figueiredo. Cory could also land takedowns at his own right is another thing that I was kind of lacking to forget. And Figi is kind of low volume. His gas tank is a little bit weird. I don't believe we've seen him in a 5... Oh, no, sorry. I'm casual. I was going to say, I don't think we've seen him in a 5-round fight at bantamweight yet, but he went to 5 rounds with Piotr Jan in his last fight. This is a tricky one for both guys. It's just I think that Cory Sandhagen has so many more physical tools to help him win this fight, being so much taller and what he's able to do on the feet. Um, Figueiredo, he's 24-4 overall and one draw, 13-4-1 in the UFC. He lost his last fight to Piotr Jan by in dominant fashion. However, did have a slight knockdown in the fourth round. Before then was 3-0 in the bantamweight division, moving up from flyweight with wins over Rob Font by decision, Cody Garbrandt by submission, and Chito Vera, where his uncrackable chin was dropped. Of course, was a reigning flyweight champion with those amazing fights with Brandon Moreno. Figueiredo is going to need a lot to land takedowns and create a lot of scrambles and end up on Cory's back. I think that he can do that, but there could also be a club and sub available for Figueiredo. I originally here have written down that I am going to bite the bullet on the huge dog for Figueiredo to win this one by submission, but I am not doing that. I'm taking Cory Sandhagen to win this one by decision. It's just like, man, we haven't seen Cory hurt in a long time. I mean, he got dropped by Piotr Jan with that spinning back fist in like 2021 or two. But it's like, I don't know. I just don't really see it. 37 years old. If you've seen how Figgy was looking at the weigh-ins and stuff, he's kind of got some meat on his tummy now. Like, I don't really know what's going on there. So I am going to be taking Cory Sandhagen in our main event to win this one by decision. It'll probably be a 50-45, 49-46 decision. And yeah, that'll do it for my full card UFC Des Moines full card predictions. I hope you enjoyed.